Hello, everyone. Welcome to the season one finale of the You'll Have That podcast. Episode 17 here with Twiz.
Hello.
So sorry about the 2 week delay. I had some travels and stuff and all that, but we're good now. This will be the finale for season one, and then we're taking a break, and then we'll come back with season two all freshened up and ready to tackle that. We have a nice list of topics today that we want to kind of get out. Missed the train on a few things, but we'll kind of touch on them. But yeah, just to kind of get things started here, kind of wanted to mention the whole Starlink situation. They just recently went up on their prices by up to $200. So that's pretty insane. I know Starlink's a pretty good service for those that are like traveling a lot or maybe have some sort of RV and then that's their primary internet. They can just pull over or whatever, put it on the roof and get you their internet. But a $200 price
So,
increase.
so not to like try to interrupt or anything, but I am on the Starlink's website. If you're residential, there is no increase. For standard, it's 120 a month, unlimited data. For like roaming, for RVs and stuff, um, got
That's what I was
unlimited
talking about.
mobile. You've got unlimited mobile data. So they went up. Let's see. They went up an additional $60. So from 90 to 150. And then you're really messed up if you're on a boat. So if you're on a boat, for 50 gigabytes is $250 a month. And that's for mobile priority. For 1 terabyte, you're paying $1,000 a month.
Jeez.
For 5 terabytes, it's $5,000 a month. And just for the equipment alone is $2,500.
Oh my goodness. Now, neither of us are boaters here, so I'm not sure like how this compares to other data prices on a boat. I don't know if T-Mobile is in the middle of the ocean. I doubt it. It's probably gonna be something to do with satellite. But geez, that is expensive. Extremely expensive, might I add. Just to give you an idea, me, Twiz, and like our family at home, we go through, I think, on a monthly basis, at least 3 terabytes of data. So I can only imagine.
Accurate.
Yeah. Now, granted, perhaps we wouldn't be using as much on a boat because we have a lot of services and servers and stuff like that. So there's a lot of inbound and outbound traffic. But still, that's a lot. I mean, I don't know. But I like the Starlink service for RVs predominantly because I actually watch a few YouTubers that do that. And it seems like it's a pretty useful thing to have. But yeah, that is not
Seems
cheap.
like a lot of people's going to be going over to T-Mobile.
That's what I'm thinking too. I know T-Mobile's been pushing their whole 5G hotspot thing a lot now, right?
Yeah, but yeah, so even for the residential and the motor coach, motor home, whatever, you're only getting unlimited data for your standard. If you want priority data, which is going to give you better speeds and more stability, then you're going to pay an additional $100 to $200 a month. I think that's what the price hike was.
Yeah, so
and businesses as well.
Yeah, I can't really imagine too many businesses using it though, unless they're in a very remote area. But geez, $200 for priority, right? That's pretty absurd. You'll have that, I guess.
Yeah, well, it's Musk. He has to figure out how to make as much money as possible.
Right. Another interesting kind of thing here is that Red Lobster, they've shut down. They've went belly up.
Yeah.
Isn't that crazy? I know. I mean,
it's not surprising.
It's not. Well, I mean, I don't know. Growing up, Red Lobster and Olive Garden were like the two upper echelons of fast food restaurants, right? Um, take a date out there or something, and it's a little treat. But yeah, it seems. I mean, I kind of wonder what's gonna happen with Olive Garden now. Like, as you know,
I don't really think that much is going to be happening with Olive Garden if they're not right on Red Lobster's heels of going bankrupt and shutting the doors. Then they'll either do okay or they'll go out. I mean, I don't know too many people that really go to Red Lobster or Olive Garden these days, to be honest. Um, their quality fell off, their prices went up, much like every other corporately owned company.
franchise,
So
right?
it's just a matter of time before these companies start filing Chapter 11 and kicking rocks in open-toed shoes.
Yeah,
Um,
in terms of their menu, I think Olive Garden has a little bit more to offer, I believe, than Red Lobster.
I mean, they
Um,
do, but let's be honest, the quality has went downhill. Period.
definitely. It's definitely about maximizing profits.
I mean, yeah,
Which
you can get better quality for the same price or cheaper if you go to a privately owned restaurant.
yeah.
It's as simple as that. And whenever you can go to a privately owned restaurant and get, you know, better quality for the same price or cheaper, then you already know that these companies that are, cutting costs and the quality is garbage and the price is high, they
Mhm.
are not paying anywhere near the amount that these private restaurants are. Excuse me. So that just tells you, they're selling you slop and charging you bricks of gold for it. So I have no heart for companies that do that. So Red Lobster, good on you. I think that's the best thing you could do for society is close your doors.
Well, okay, hold on now. What do we think about this in terms of like limiting the places you can go? Almost essentially removing your choices here. You're not removing, sorry, dwindling down your choices of what to go out to eat, sort of like the variability. I mean, we kind of see this in the gaming
I
industry too, right? Where
so as far so it's two entirely different businesses. As far as restaurants and stuff, I don't see it as dwindling down places to go because as soon as one place closes, another one opens up in that same location. I've seen it time and time again. Um, these companies just need to quit FOing. You know,
fair enough, fair
you
enough.
you want to raise prices on people. You want to squeeze every single red cent out of the working class, then they're just not going to eat there. You're going to file Chapter 11. You're going to close your doors and shutter your windows, and you're going to fuck off. Plain and simple. Um,
Well, with McDonald's, I mean, we're seeing them starting to make the burger sizes for the Big Macs and stuff thinner than the pickles.
and on the other side of the coin, McDonald's has been complaining that the largest customer base, which is poor and lower middle class people, are no longer eating there. I fucking wonder why.
Yeah,
Because you keep cutting costs and then you
increase the price.
increase your price, your menu price. You're essentially trying to, I don't think you're trying to, but you're essentially pricing out the people that made you your billions of dollars, and now you're not making that kind of money.
Yeah.
If they continue in the trajectory that they are going, they won't be open either, because as of right now, for the price of their double quarter pounder combo meal,
Mhm.
you could go to a better restaurant. I could go to Coney Island and get a burger 3 times the size, and a helping of fries, 4 times the size, and a Coke for the same price, actually $1 less,
Yeah, and the
then I can go to
quality is
McDonald's. The
significantly
quality's
better.
better. Yeah,
Significantly better.
it's not frozen bullshit.
Hmm.
So
Not paper thin
what?
either.
Right. So what are you doing? You're not doing anything. You're just putting yourself into a position where you're going to be, filing bankruptcy. Period. Well,
No, I think
maybe
for
not.
McDonald's, it's gonna take a lot longer for that to happen,
Maybe
right?
not McDonald's, but
Um,
at the same time, they're going to start shutting down
Locations. Yeah,
locations.
yeah, absolutely. I could definitely see
Period.
that. And ultimately, I think this kind of goes back to since this is a finale of season one, I kind of want to harp back to like our first couple topics we were talking about corporate greed, right? So this is kind of the result of that. This is what we're seeing is that these companies think that they can keep getting away with this and keep nickel and diming their customer base.
Well, corporate greed has pretty much been our mantra at this point. We shouldn't have named the podcast "You'll Have That." We should have just named it "Corporate Greed."
Right.
Because that's really every episode that comes up.
It's hard
And
not to because it's in everything.
well, yeah, but at the end of the day, it- that's what this shit's. That's what all these companies are doing these days.
Hmm.
They're all trying to maximize profits since COVID because they saw that people were willing to spend the money.
And I
They've
think
just
that's
went
kind of
up and up
something
and up.
that's interesting is when do you think we're gonna see things, if ever, kind of start to go back to pre-COVID, um, pre-COVID world, if you will.
Honestly, if you would have asked me this 2 years ago, I would have said now. I would have said, yeah, 2024. I don't know. I don't think we ever will. I really don't. I think the only time that we may see um, things kind of normalize is maybe around election, and then it'll shoot right back up, possibly even double.
Yeah, I'm kind of like, yeah, I don't know either. I'm in the same boat. I'm not sure. I really don't know. Um, but to kind of shift gears a little bit here, I guess. So a few events recently that happened that I think we can touch on now that it's been 2 weeks out of the loop here. So Furiosa Mad Max Saga performed absolutely horribly. Actually, it's one of the worst, if not the record-breaking worst box office opening. So that's pretty funny.
I
Me
figured that
personally,
would
I have zero
happen.
interest in it. So yeah,
Same.
yep. Um, so there was also a LATAM Airlines Boeing 787-9 Dreamliner that had a weird like nosedive happen and all the people kind of like shot up, bounced their heads. That was a whole thing. It was a flight to New Zealand. Um, there was a lot of misinformation I was saying on that. People saying that the pilots smashed the yoke or something and all that. I think actually what happened was it was there's a system, and I'm not sure this is it. So the NTSB did not release, I think, any actual um, findings per se. But there's like a collision avoidance system, and essentially it kicks in pretty far away. But what happens is it'll make one plane go up and then one plane will go down, so they avoid colliding in each other, obviously. And possibly that could have happened. But you gotta understand that at the altitude they were at, they were using autopilot, which was on, and for you to be able to hit the yoke hard enough to kick it out of autopilot, it takes over 25 pounds of force. So I think for a pilot to do that accidentally is pretty hard, especially if they're trying to like get a tray of food or something, and then they bump the train. You're not gonna have 25 pounds of force to do that. Um, but alas,
They could have fell.
they could have fell, but again, the pilots did not say that happened, so I'm not sure. But there's like a ton of different misinformation and stuff going on that. But I thought
Well,
I'd kind of
you'll always have misinformation surrounding things that happen that no one really knows too much about.
right, exactly. So I figured I'd just kind of bring that up. Now, another thing is I wanted to kind of talk about Nintendo's opening up its first official store in San Fran. So that's interesting. We know we have Nintendo in Japan. I do believe they have a store there. But yeah, it's the first. I believe it's the first one in the U.S.
Huh.
So that's an interesting new milestone.
Wonder how long that'll stay open.
There's a pretty big following for Nintendo. I don't think it's going to be one of those things that opens and closes in 2 years. Especially because it's, I think, one of the only, if not the only one in the whole U.S. So when they do like their big ticket items, maybe they'll have like a launch event there, stuff like that. So I think it's not a bad move. Me personally, I think Nintendo's extremely scummy in a lot of regards, but for those that like Nintendo, they do have a pretty good audience and stuff like that. So
yeah, that's true.
Yeah, interesting. I kind of wanted to shift gears into something that happened to me and Twiz, because we have the same monitor. And I'm gonna tie it into something else as well. So we both have the Asus Swift, ROG Swift. Sorry, the Asus ROG Swift OLED. It's a PG27AQDM. They're OLED monitors. They're $1,000 each. And Asus, in its infinite wisdom, released. Well, actually, before that, Twiz, you were having some issues. What were you having issues with? What was your experience?
So every time I would, every time I'd go to like Netflix or Hulu, or it didn't happen on YouTube, which is kind of weird, but Netflix and Hulu on this particular monitor, every time I'd go and I'd click to watch something and hit full screen, the monitor would go black, and it would say that the display port had no signal.
Mm-hmm.
So I dealt with that for a couple of weeks, and I was like, what the hell? Did through some research. A lot of people are saying, oh, update the firmware, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah, that's fair.
So, I updated the firmware. Okay. You can explain it.
So to be very specific, you were on MCM 103, I think, and we upgraded you to MCM 106, which is the current one, which just released.
Yeah, I was on
7 days ago.
You were on 104.
Yeah. Now to preface before I keep going, I had zero issues. I did not have any issues with my monitor. It was great, zero complaints.
Well, you had a more updated firmware than I did.
Yeah, I had one updated, right? One version newer, excuse me. So anyways, we updated. I see that you updated yours, so I'm like, oh, you know what? I'm 2 versions behind. I'll go ahead and update. Boy, was that a mistake. Instantly, I've had issues. Half of the screen was glitched out. It turned black and white. Yeah, we went back into the 1930s. Went back black and white.
Same. It wanted us to put the monitor into power saving mode.
Yeah, so when I put it in standard mode, it didn't even work.
If we put it into standard mode, it would glitch half the monitor and turn the monitor black and white. And whenever we say glitch, it's like, it kind of looks like your graphics card is completely artifacting all out.
Yeah.
All over the monitor halfway up. And then on top of that, everything black and white. So yeah,
reset the settings, still had some weird bugs when we turn off.
Well, you did. I reset my settings and I was okay.
Okay. And then when the monitor was off, it was almost going into, actually no, it was going into this infinite loop, which is not supposed to happen, of pixel cleaning.
I had this.
Yeah, of where it essentially flashed colors because it's an OLED monitor.
It would go white.
It keeps
white, green, red, blue, purple, magenta, pink.
Yep. So it keeps the colors on the OLED pixels themselves cycling, so they don't get stuck. That's how you get OLED burn. And it's supposed to only do that for 4 minutes, but I think you waited how long? 20 minutes? 30 minutes?
About 30 minutes, yeah.
And it was still doing it. Off. Yeah, it never turned off. So besides the point, I eventually just rolled back. I went back to the version I was, 104. I'm happy with that. Twiz, I think, is having no issues, so he's going to stick with his 106, as far as I know.
Yeah, I just reset my settings, and it fixed all of my issues, but still, it makes me very leery of
Asus
updating Asus's anything, any of their firmware, their BIOS for motherboards, any of that shit, because it's like you almost broke my $1,000 monitor. And whenever I called, so I did call customer service because I was, I wanted to report it.
Yeah.
And the dude's all like nonchalant, trying to get all this extra info and wanting a serial number and all that. And it's like, okay, I have my serial numbers, but I have to go and track down the box that it came in because, again, Asus's infinite wisdom, you don't put the fucking serial number on the back of the monitor for some reason anymore. So I'm like, look, I'm not doing all of that. Here's the model number to this monitor.
Yeah.
You guys pushed a firmware update that breaks $1,000 monitors.
Now, a key word that you just said is $1,000 monitor. This is not a budget product. This is a very premium product from Asus that we purchased, and we expect premium customer service, right?
Correct.
So, I heard horror stories, and I kind of also wanted to touch on Gamer Nexus. He did a video of his Zephyrus, I think is what it's called. No, the handheld thing. I think it's the Zephyrus. I don't know. The Asus little gaming. It's like the Steam Deck, but it's Asus's version. But yeah, he did a whole video on it. He had an issue.
It's the Ally.
Sorry, the ROG Ally. My bad. The Ally. He did a whole video on that, and they were trying to essentially scam him because there was, when I say micro, I mean like it was like you had to get a microscope.
He had to put it under a microscope.
Yeah, there was a little crack, and they were.
It's not even a crack; it was an indent from where they had opened it up.
Yeah, indent.
To take out their
SSD.
SSD, which Asus recommends you do.
Yep.
Before you send it in, so it's like, okay, they wanted $200 to repair that damage, and that damage, literally, it wasn't even real damage. It doesn't affect anything about it.
You couldn't even see it with your naked eye. Like, it was that bad.
Yeah. So, I don't know. I do know my customer service experience after the dude started talking about RMAing my monitor. I was all like, no, we should be able to roll this back, no problem. Like, just walk me through the steps of rolling it back. I don't want to go through that debacle. You guys already have enough issues, let alone pushing firmware updates that break customers' components. You know, to be honest, at this point, I think I'd get better customer service from MSI.
Oh yeah, no. And that video that Gamer Nexus put out kind of reinforced the fact that Asus's customer service is just absolute trash. It is bottom of the barrel. And kind of I'm very, very happy I bought a Steam Deck and not an Ally. Because my Steam Deck's been amazing. It's been fantastic. And anyone that has a problem with it, I mean, you can go on the Reddit. Valve is super customer friendly. One of the best customer friendly companies. So very happy to support them. Had zero issues with it.
I do know this. My next computer build, there will not be an Asus product in it.
Mm-hmm. I don't have any Asus products in mind, but you have the Maximus Hero, I think, or what did you have for the motherboard?
So pretty much my entire build is Asus.
Oh.
So I have the Z790 Maximus Hero. I have the Asus Tough graphics card.
Oh, okay.
Two, not one, but two of my 3 monitors are Asus. Although I will say, this Asus monitor right here is much, 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 much older than this MSI monitor, and this MSI monitor's dying.
Okay.
So
fair enough. Well, I didn't realize you had that much Asus into your build. Mine has nothing Asus, actually, now I think about it. So yeah, I usually go with Gigabyte for mine. I've been a long time Gigabyte kind of guy, so I just stick with what I got.
But at the same time, I've been a long time Asus guy, and I'm full transparency. The monitor issue this monitor, the new one, has been the very, very, very first time I've ever had any issues out of an Asus product. Luckily, knock on wood, right? But as far as motherboards, graphics cards, all of my graphics cards except for, let's see. So the one prior to this was Asus, but the one prior to that and the one prior to that were EVGA.
Mm.
So, but as far as motherboards and monitors, it's always been Asus, and I've never had issues out of them until this monitor issue.
Fair enough. Fair enough. I have a old, and I mean like, this thing's probably 13 years old. Samsung monitor to my well, for you guys it's right, but to my left, and it's 1080p, and it's still going. It is still going.
Well, yeah, this monitor to my left is Asus, and it's over 10 years old.
Mm.
It's a 1080p. Haven't had any issues out of it. The MSI monitor, on the other hand, to my right, is only 4, and it's having some, bruh. There's a lot of times I have to turn this monitor off and back on because I get the multicolored lines.
Oh.
About this much from the bottom. It goes all the way up like that and just goes all the
Wow.
way across the screen. So I have to turn it off, turn it back on, and then it clears up.
Interesting.
So eventually I'm going to have to replace that eventually.
Yeah. I mean, my Samsung one sold. It doesn't even have HDMI. It uses VGA. So yeah.
There you go.
But hey, they don't make them like they used to, I guess, because it's still going.
Nope.
But yeah, other than that, I mean, I would steer away if I were you guys, just based on their customer service experience. I would be cautious.
The reason why I say I'm going to steer away is because whenever I called the customer service, the dude seemed like he could care less.
Yeah, and that's essentially their whole attitude.
He seemed very
dismissive.
Very dismissive. Very just like, oh well, yeah, that is a problem, but whatever. What's your serial number? Just very nonchalant. Like, this is not.
It's not a priority or anything. Yeah.
It's an issue, but it's not an issue. Very standard non-answers.
Yeah.
Even whenever I'm explaining to him, like, bro, this is a $1,000 monitor that was working, reasonably fine. Like, his was working perfectly fine. Mine, I was having a little issue with it, but the firmware update, the fix, caused a much more drastic issue.
Yeah.
So, like, on that note, like, nah, bro. I can't be spending money like that and an update break my shit. Like, no.
Not at the price point that these monitors cost. No.
Mm-mm.
So in terms of some gaming news, Sonya's Hellblade, I think is what it's called, Hellblade 2. That's kind of a flop. I know they were really banking on that being a pretty big game.
Which Hellblade itself was like a very niche.
It is very, very niche. It is super.
Don't get me wrong.
It's a different way of making games. I mean, it's a different experience, right?
But it's a very, very just puzzle game, and it makes you feel like you've fucking like macro dosed LSD. I'm not even kidding. I'm cool with. I'm good. Like, there's so much flashing lights. It's so disorienting and stuff that it's like, okay, I could see this being fun if they'd put a little more action into it, toned down with all the flashy, and
I think the second one does have a little bit more action. It's not as slow as the first one. But it's like you said, it's just a different kind of game. It's meant to be
very niche.
It is. It definitely is, and I think their sales kind of show that, in the sense.
Takes a special person to be able to play that game.
Yeah, but I'm not mad about it. I think it's good seeing these games that are doing something very different. Um, it completely is not something that I've seen before personally. So I think it's nice that they did that. I just think that I believe Sony is the one that owns that studio. I don't remember. But they were really banking on it, and doesn't seem like it's what paid off per se.
Well, I feel
Actually,
like
wait,
here
no.
lately,
I wanna
Sony's.
I wanna double check that. I don't know if it is Sony that. Let me see. Um, no, it's not. It's Oh, sorry. It's Xbox Game Studios. That's the publisher. My bad. Xbox, I believe, was banking on this because they've kind of had a rocky bit now.
Yeah,
Um,
well, they've been banking on a lot of flops lately.
and that yeah, and they're not afraid to close down studios either because the studio for Hi-Fi Rush actually got terminated. It's got shut down.
Mhm.
Which is surprising considering that game is like the only game that actually was really successful and they've gotten multiple awards for. And not to mention that was also a Japanese studio and they've been wanting to get a Japanese game studio to kind of get their foot in the door into that market. So
Right.
really puzzling decisions on the executive side. Um, but yeah, this just doesn't seem like it paid off for them. I guess they got to reap in some money after the whole Activision Blizzard thing.
Yeah.
And certainly, last but not least, so AI has been a very hot topic lately. We've seen a lot of advancements in AI, a lot of AI now being able to kind of make full fake videos of people. I remember when you're talking about the whole um, making that fake Zoom call with that company. Remember? Um,
Yep.
so there's a lot of questions regarding AI legislation now, because you can use AI to almost fake a video of a famous person. Um, Example, let's say I don't know Henry Cavill, right? You make a scandalous video using AI of him saying maybe some rather insulting things, right? How does copyright work with that? How does any legality work with that? It hasn't caught up to it yet. There's nothing really that's preventing that. So what do you think about that? If you were in that position, right, to where someone was using AI to duplicate you and put you in a different light, what's your what's your kind of
I mean, what there is no legal recourse right now to be able to do anything.
no,
So
I know, I
what
meant
could
like
I
how would
do
you
other than
what's your opinion on the situation? How do you feel?
I think it's grotesquely disgusting.
That's it.
Um, I mean, what other opinion am I going to be able to have,
So
or
let's expand
there's
this
no
out a little bit.
action or recourse that I have to take?
Well, I just wanted your opinion, but okay, so let's say you're a popular singer. Okay, so if you use AI to imitate your voice and make a song, is that would you think that should be copywritten? And if so, does that mean people's voices now are copywritten?
I think, and here's the thing: is a lot of these singers and actors and everything like that, their contracts have it in their contracts that the people that they sign these contracts with own their likeness and their this and their that. So I think even if legislation comes out that they're not going to have really a leg to stand on in a courtroom, because these companies already own their likeness and their voice, and especially if you're a singer, they own your voice essentially.
I'm not
So they're
talking about
not
a
going to have.
company using AI to duplicate. I'm talking about just like anyone, because you can just go on a website now and it'll just do it for you, you know? So like
I mean,
your random Joe Schmo.
I'd be pissed off about it, but there's nothing I can do about it right now. Like you said, there's like, what do you want me to say?
Okay, well,
I'd be mad
what's a
about it.
proposed solution? Like, elaborate a little bit more.
There needs to be laws and protections put in place for it. I'm not a lawyer. I'm not a bill maker. It
Okay,
needs
well,
to
I
happen.
was thinking more of the lines of so when do we draw the line in terms of originality? So is a person's voice original enough that it could be copyrighted? And if so, what about, okay, here's a good example. Johnny Cash. He passed away, but his nephew sounds very similar to him. So does the company that Johnny Cash
I
was
don't think
with,
you can copyright a voice. You
okay,
can't.
if you can't,
Because that would be like Tyler Perry copywriting his Medea voice, and anybody that uses the Medea voice, which is there's a couple of people on TikTok that sound exactly like Medea.
right. Michael
Eh,
Jackson is another example. There's some people, very few, but some people that can do a Michael Jackson kind of impression, you know?
just like you can't copyright a dance. So no, a voice, no. But if somebody is, let's say, impersonating and saying that, for example, let's say someone calls an agency
Oh,
using
like a malicious way. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Okay.
correct, then there should be laws put in place for that. But as
That's
far
fair.
as like
Okay.
copywriting a voice or something like that, I mean, to be honest with you, you really can't even copyright an image, because there's so many people that, you know, from 100 years ago that look, and then there's
I
people
think,
now that look exactly the same. You know, there's been people that swear up and down that Nicolas Cage is a damn time traveler, because they found photos from 1904 that look exactly like Nicolas Cage, 20 years ago.
and you bring up a good point. There's the gene pool can only get so expansive, right? Eventually,
Hmm.
just by random luck, you're gonna have someone that looks very similar to you. Um, so in regards to that, yeah, I think you make a good point. But it's just interesting how legislature is gonna have to catch up to this, because we're still using copyright law from 1997, I think, right? Whenever
I'm
the
not entirely
DMCA
sure. I
Act was
haven't looked at
enacted.
it.
Here, let me see when DMCA came out. So it was in um so it originally came out in 1990, and then the oh, sorry, that is DCMC. So the DMCA, or wait, no, that's not what I was talking about. My bad. 1998. Okay, so yeah, I was right. Um, yeah, 1998, and things have changed a lot since then, right? So clearly, I mean, in terms of legislation, we need to have, in my opinion, these laws all updated, looked at, and adapted for the modern, the modern world per se, right? Um, but yeah, it's definitely interesting when it comes to AI, how this is going to go about, because it's a very fine line that you got to walk. There's only so much you can do before it starts encompassing the wrong thing.
Yeah, and I'm right there with you that, you know there needs to be laws updated and reevaluated and stuff like that. But it's really hard to do whenever our House representatives can't even keep a House speaker.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely.
You know,
Not
and
to
people
mention,
still
the
want to vote red.
age, right? The age of a lot of them are pretty old, so they're not really that well versed in technology, newer stuff, and stuff like that.
That's true. That is true.
But yeah, that's all the topics I had. Really, is there anything else you want to talk about? Well, it was a great first season. Had a few changes. Some people come and go, but overall, I think it was a pretty good season. Season two, hopefully even better. Gonna have a few new things, a bunch of new topics that we can talk about, and maybe even some specials. So that'll be pretty interesting. But really, truly thank everyone that was on the journey with us and has listened. You can visit us at Spotify. You'll have that on Spotify, or on YouTube. You can just at Wasepi is the channel, so feel free
Now,
to
I'm not
watch.
entirely sure if uh, Wassup here is going to be joining me, but I do know that I would like to do a either watch along or a react every week starting in June for the new House of the Dragon episodes. So if he doesn't want to do that with me, then it'll probably be over on my channel. He does, it'll be here on this channel. But further details will follow once we figure out exactly how we're gonna do that. I know that the Game of Thrones universe really isn't truly his cup of tea, so that's why I'm not entirely sure if he's gonna watch it with me, being that this is season 2, or not. But if you are gonna watch it with me, you should probably watch season 1 before season 2 starts.
We'll see. I'm not sure. We'll
Wink,
see.
wink, nudge, nudge.
Alrighty, well, thank you everyone for watching. This is Wasp signing out. Thank you so much. Season 1, cashing out. Thank you so much, everyone. Twiz,
Always remember and never forget, you'll have that.
you will absolutely have that. Thank you so much, guys. Take care. Have a good one.
Later.